would have thought that, contrary to popular belief, not traveling actually endangered wildlife. When you read headlines of how the pandemic affected tourism, it's hard to imagine that not traveling could be bad for wildlife. We tend to imagine quite the opposite actually. In today's video, I'll explain the repercussion a human pandemic can have on wildlife. And it's not that the virus affected wildlife directly, it's the indirect consequences it had on species around the world. And that's because there are many wildlife around the world that depend on local communities to survive. And these communities depend on tourism. For them, no tourism means no revenue streams and no way to make ends meet. During the pandemic, many people working in the tourism industry lost their job, and they had to find new alternatives to work. In some places, the economic situation got so bad that people started cutting trees. There were reports of illegal tree cutting and even illegal farming around the world. And strict COVID-19 lockdown, quarantine, and restriction meant that there were fewer people around to catch them. In Mexico, nearly 80% of forests are owned by indigenous groups, or ejidos, who share the land provided by the state. Not only do they need the revenue from tourism, but they also depends on the land itself for survival. When tourism is halted, there are no funds coming in from tourism. Communities can't invest into security and maintenance. This means they are unable to stop any illegal activities on their land that are a consequence of a lack of tourism. These places end up with people hunting endangered wildlife for their fur, horns, and skin. Others are cutting wood from their forests and selling it to pay for basic needs. This isn't limited to Mexico, Asia, Africa, or Latin America. All around the world, there's been reports of increased deforestation during the pandemic, and it's not even limited to forests. Illegal mining of gold and precious stones increased in the mines of Latin America and Africa, since there were no funds from tourism to pay for guards. Another obvious consequence of illegal wood cutting is the worsening of global warming. Contrary to popular belief, the lack of tourism created unsafe habitat for wildlife. Less revenue from tourism meant a decrease of the amount of workers protecting it, and people living around these wildlife protected areas are also usually on the higher poverty level. Socioeconomic pressures force local population to cut trees to survive, bringing them closer to wildlife and increasing the chance of contact with endangered species. In India, for example, the newly increased contact between humans and wildlife has resulted in more poaching and hunting. As the world wrestles with the pandemic, poaching is also increasing across the globe, and now hunters are interested in more types of animals. Unfortunately, this is also putting us at risk of another pandemic. Nature functions similarly to the human body. When ecosystems are robust and healthy, they are less likely to be the source of diseases. A robust ecosystem not only has diverse species, but also space for extensive animal population. A study conducted in the Congo Basin and Rift Valley suggests that the consequence of deforestation and climate change increase the risk of zoonotic transmission from wildlife to human. I mean, we could develop more diseases similar to COVID-19, simply because our wildlife is less diverse and doesn't have enough space. Frequent interaction between wildlife and humans also increase the chances of an animal pathogen becoming transmissible to humans like COVID-19. So decreasing the frequency of this interaction is key, and the only way to do so is by reducing deforestation and poaching. Overall, the numbers aren't actually all bad. Some species have benefited from the coronavirus pandemic. This is a wild bee. Along with honeybees, wild bees are vital for the pollination of flowering trees and wildflowers, which in turn provide food and homes for other animals. Research have shown that wild bees present increased yield across many types of crops. Wild bees made the most of a sharp decline in air pollution, which, by the way, disrupt their ability to smell flower. And these past few years have allowed them to get back to work untroubled.
Bees are an essential part of our ecosystem and our economy, really. And over the years, bee populations have been falling. But it seems it took a pandemic to turn the tide finally.
It turns out that bees like it when humans are in a pandemic lockdown.
Lower amounts of traffic on the ocean waters have also led to a decrease in underwater noise. That means that whales have been able to communicate more easily and expand their territory. It seems that during the pandemic, we have developed reflexes that will help us prevent future ones, such as early recognition, fast response, quarantine, and social measures. But more importantly, if there's one thing that you should take away from this video, is that it's crucial that we take care of nature if we want to avoid the next pandemic pandemic in the first place. That brings us to this ethical question. How can we travel more often so that we can support local communities and don't endanger wildlife without harming our environment? I don't have the answer, but I believe that the answer lies in sustainable travel as a way to minimize the negative impact of tourism while still supporting the industry. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think about it in the comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get notified when I post another video, and I see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.